On this episode of The Process, we're going to talk about the designer's dilemma, what it means to be a graphic designer in the 21st century. Here we are in 2016, a lot of forces in play right now. In particular, the reason why we're having this conversation is, I'm wondering, do we have to make this choice? And the designer's dilemma is, do you eat and do soul-sucking work and sell out to a corporation, or do you starve and be happy being an artist? Is there a middle ground? I don't know. Stick around. Let me try this again.
I want you guys to listen to me.
Yeah.
I design sandwiches. My name is Szekely, and I talk about the design of business. I talk about a lot of stuff.
My name is Chris Doe, and I talk about the business of design.
At the center of this operating system, it's about understanding.
Jose, can we just tell them what the show title is?
I hate you, dude.
You are watching The Process.
All
right. Okay, so we're back. We are filming live here in our studio space in Santa Monica, and we're joined by a lot of really good-looking people. I'm going to say that. Some finely bearded gentlemen. And to my right is Michael Stinson and Rachel Elmar of Type Ed.
Okay.
Welcome to the show, you guys. I'm really
Hi.
glad to have you here.
Thanks.
Can you just tell people who aren't familiar with who you guys are, what Type Ed is about, your mission, whatever it is? Tell the people.
Sure. Type Ed is a topography education program that we developed basically to bridge the gap between education and the professional workplace. Is that good, Michael?
How long have you guys been doing this?
We've been doing it for almost 3 years.
And if I want to find out more about Type Ed and what you do, can you give us a little of the details?
type-ed.com. And on the website, we have a schedule of classes that we do mostly in person, and then we also have some online offerings as well.
Okay, so they're in-person workshops.
Mm-hmm.
How long do the workshops last? Is it a single day, multi-day?
They're single day, they're seminar based. The classes are about 3 hours, the workshops are 8 hours.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so we'll include a link below, you guys, if you want to find out more about Type Ed and you're in LA for the live stuff. And I understand you're also doing some online stuff, right?
Yes.
And when we were talking, you have is it a peer mentoring group? How would you describe that?
Yeah, the peer mentoring group. Do you want to talk about that, Michael?
Varsity?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, you created it.
Okay.
It's a mentoring group to help people in the workplace, as they're in the workplace, where every so often, every other week or once a week, we get online together. And we talk about type as a base, but anything else, politics, design politics in the workplace.
Oh, okay,
Or problem solving of printing or whatever else they may have.
okay,
Yeah.
great.
Mm-hmm.
And so is that all that information is available on your website?
Actually, no, not for the varsity team. It's basically invite only through the alumni, but it's something we're starting to open up and accept applications.
So exclusive.
It's a little bit exclusive,
Dang.
yeah.
All right. I love the idea, though. Okay, so let's just jump in.
Okay.
Let's rewind the tape here. The reason why we're talking, and you and I talk from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
We get into these conversations that last an hour and a half, 2 hours sometimes. And it was centered around this idea about love for the work. And sometimes you love a project so much that you're willing to go above and beyond. So in my mind, it's like you're investing in the project. So tell me more about maybe an example or how you feel about that.
Yeah, some of our clients, we do really like working on their projects. So much so, we'll go above and beyond and put more time and effort into the project just to make sure it looks good, even though it was not budgeted at the beginning.
And now I see some heads nodding in the studio audience. Have you guys done that before, where you're commissioned to do something and you love the brand, the project, or something about it really turns you on that you go crazy and you're all into it? Yeah? No? Well, this is an interesting, so the right of me, they're kind of nodding their head to the left like, I don't know what you're talking about. Show me the Benjamins, otherwise I'm out. Because you love it, you want to put in extra energy. I want to ask you guys that were nodding your head, and you two especially, why do you do it? What compels you to do it?
Love.
I wasn't nodding my head.
Oh. Is that something you guys
Okay, so
disagree about?
let's just have a specific case study. If we don't mind talking about a client project, I hope so. But we do have a client, CWS Capital. They're a financial firm that we do an annual report every year. We've done so for the last 10 years. So the specific project that we had was an annual report that was about circulating value. And the idea we had was to come up with an annual report that looked like it was covered in currency. the currency cannot just be scanned. You can't just scan dollars and reprint them, right? So we have to create them from scratch. This takes a lot of time creating the guilloches, is that correct, Michael?
Guilloches.
Guilloches, right. Guilloches, 10 to 20 different typefaces for each spread. It took a long time, but we invested it. We brought in another designer to work on it full time for a couple weeks.
Wait, let me just get this straight.
Yes.
You redrew currency?
Yes,
Whew.
We rewrote it too. They don't say the same things.
right.
We made it pertain to their business, which is real estate.
So this is one of those things where you could have scanned it in, but it's not going to look good.
Well,
So you
We wanted to be as
Legally, you
authentic
can't
as
scan it
possible.
in.
You can't scan it in,
yeah.
but you can redraw it. That's like counterfeit, isn't it?
No, because all the types changed. All the serial numbers are all our birthdays, wedding dates.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, but you guys are perfectionists, so you want it to be as pristine as possible.
That's probably part of the problem, is we're perfectionists.
You are?
Well, also, it was a concept that is going to render a higher budget. Some concepts cost more than others. And if you bid the job, before your concept comes out, it's an estimate to you, right? You try to aim in the middle. So when you have a full-blown concept that didn't come out of the woodwork, it's truly creative, and it's going to take more time, then that's what you have to decide is, do we do less printing to take down the entire budget so we spend more money on the creative rather than the production? Or what? So you have to juggle that way. But it depends on the concept. The year after the concept was really easy. It didn't take us hardly any time.
Oh, I see. Okay, so this is a very special circumstance in that you have a long-term relationship with a very loyal client who gives you a lot of latitude.
Yeah.
So some years you're going to make more, some years you make a little
That's
less.
right. So
Okay.
then it's
Okay.
the
That's,
scheme of
I
things.
like that.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's an investment in a relationship.
right.
Yeah.
I'm behind that.
Okay.
That's great. What I don't like is the first timers asking me to do stuff, and then I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? I cannot pay to do your job. I cannot pay more to do your job than you pay.
Right.
And I'm a business person. I'm a small business, like many businesses in America. I have to do projects that hit a certain margin, or I'm going to be out of business.
And I think most of the projects that we do for love is because we want the relationship. We want to keep the relationship.
Okay, that's a powerful word there because it's used a lot.
Right.
And I'll tell you how it's used against me, the relationship, okay? Now let's see if we can expose as much of this topic before we move on to the other things, okay? So here's the thing. I've had sales reps, not saying any current sales reps, but sales reps or executive producers. And if you guys haven't worked with an executive producer in our line of work, they do biz development, biz dev. And what they always tell you is this stinker of a job where it's not super creative and the budgets are terrible, it's because we want to build a relationship. So it's always used, it's that carrot dangling, they weren't coming to us with a good project before, and this is a new relationship. It's almost like I'm gonna punch you first and then see how it feels, and then if you like it, we'll punch you again.
Personally,
That doesn't
that's
make sense to me.
Personally, that's a red flag for me.
It's
Yeah,
a red flag.
I wouldn't do that on a first project.
Okay, because I just want to make sure. I mean, have you guys been roped into either they say it explicitly, it's implied, or you just make it up in your mind yes, I need to do this, and there's a relationship I'm trying to build and foster, and somewhere in the middle of the job, you're like, oh, this is a bad decision, and you're in a world of hurt. You hate the job, you hate the client, you're not making money. Have you guys been in that situation before? Aaron's looking at me. Several times. I got it. So what caused you to think about the relationship and get into a project where you're going to be upside down on or not love?
I don't know. I think it starts when you get out of school. Everybody, the relationship it's good for your portfolio. And then when you get into the real world or business, it turns into the relationship part.
Yeah.
Or well, this will be good for you. We could start a relationship and I'll give you more work after this. You know what I mean? Early in my freelance career, so I didn't catch a lot of those red flags. But as time went by, I kind of started noticing the words and the verbiage of how that started to come across. Then I really got kind of cutthroat.
Since we have the mic on you and you're an experienced guy, What are some of the buzzwords that you need to kind of, your ears need to perk up when you hear? And then I'll ask Michael and Rachel to kind of give us their buzzwords. When you hear those words, it should be a clear sign, red flag, danger, Will Robinson, don't go for it. So what are your buzzwords?
It could be, it's good for you. It's good for us.
Is that what the doctor says when he snaps on the glove?
That's right.
It's
It's good for you.
It's good for you.
Good
Now
for
bend
us.
over.
Things like that. It's
Good for us.
Good for, because, you know, they'll
Oh,
say,
us?
yeah, they want to make you included into what's
Okay,
going
okay.
on. And so that's why they think they could probably pay you lower, at a lower rate.
Okay, anything else? How about you guys? Who
Well,
does the client side, client-facing stuff? Or do you both talk to the client?
Yeah.
We both
You
client.
do
Depends on
you
the
both
client.
staff? Okay, great. So what kind
I
of?
mean, I can
what are the warning
understand
signs?
probably they would say exposure. They don't really say that to us because we're a firm. We're not necessarily freelance. But I know freelancers, single designers get, well, you need this for exposure, or this would be good because it's going to be on air, it's going to be on the shelf, right? So it's good for your portfolio in that way.
You have to have sensitive ears. For me, it's the word just.
Just?
Yeah, we just don't have the budget. We just don't have the time. When I hear that word, something's up.
Yeah.
Just.
Okay. I'm sure you guys have heard some of these words in a phrase with a client interaction before. And I think you feel it, but maybe it's kind of, you're not in a great financial position, so you just do it anyways. Or you put up the blinders on. Designers are really optimistic people. We want to invent better solutions, right?
Not me.
So everybody except for Michael is optimistic, right? So you put your blinders up and you kind of don't listen to the gut, and then you get screwed over.
I usually don't like when there's a situation where I'm competing with other designers for a project and they're asking for spec work or like an RFP. That's when I usually would say like, bye-bye, I'm not interested.
Okay,
Good
okay.
for
Whole other
you.
show.
Good for you.
Okay. All right, let's just talk about spec work. Spec work in this case is work done it's speculative. That's short for speculative, right? Meaning we may pay you, we may like it, we may not, but you do the work for free. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then RFP, in case you guys don't know, it's a request for proposal. And so when somebody asks you for an RFP, you say no to?
Yes.
Really? And you guys are nodding like, okay, first point of
Yes.
contention here.
Yeah.
I've submitted hundreds and I have never gotten a job from an RFP.
Really?
Yeah.
It's the only way we get jobs now. Okay, so let me go over some things, okay?
I
So
need your business guy then.
what's that?
I need your business guy.
That
then.
would be me,
Some
but
round.
we'll talk to you later, okay? So let's talk about a request for proposal. And a pitch deck is different than an RFP,
Right.
okay? A pitch deck is basically spec work, and in the motion design industry, you do have to do spec pitches. That's what you do. They basically pit 3-5 companies against each other. They give you a script, and you spend thousands of dollars, sometimes for us, tens of thousands of dollars, believe it or not, trying to get the job. But the amount of money we were spending, relatively speaking, was worth it. So we gamble. So we'd spend $30,000 for a $400,000 job, let's just say. So if you win enough of those, and you don't win every job, it's a numbers game. We're always trying to manage that kind of stuff, right? So now we're talking about within corporations when we're doing client direct work, this is when the RFP comes up. And this is the language of businesses. So a marketing person, VP marketing, marketing director, will send out a pretty generic, it's pretty boilerplate. It goes through whatever they think the job entails. And they ask you for a proposal. And so the reason why I have no problems doing this is because I play the game under my own rules. If you actually try to answer every question that they have, you're on equal footing with everybody else. And that's the first sign of like, you don't have good odds. I go through there and I try to figure out what are the 3 things that they need to know from me for me to get the job. And sometimes it's money and sometimes it's not. It's a lot of these other things. But for the most part, the response is a template. I already have the template. I shuffle the template around. I try to address their questions, and we put bulk numbers together. I don't do granular bids. I said there's no point until you're serious. We don't do that because I'm not in the business of building proposals, right? So even if I put the proposal together, it's not days worth of work. It's not costing the company a ton of money. And so far, I think we have a very high conversion ratio on proposals that we send out. So it's not a problem for us at all. And it's much better from the world of motion design, from doing pitches that cost us tens of thousands of dollars, to me sitting in a room with our account director and saying, it's kind of like here. Just send them out. There's the price sheet. They know what we're going to do. Because they need to become serious first. And we've done really well in that space. So maybe we can talk later about the RFP.
I think in the motion design industry, however, there's a handful of motion design firms, right? I mean, you guys are pitching against each other, but there might be 5 or maybe 8 of you. So in the RFP world, there could be tens of 20, you know, we've done an RFP where...
I think it's different depending on the work too. So we've done mostly on our annual reports.
But we've never responded to an RFP for annual
Yeah, we
reports. Oh, okay, I guess so. But we've also done some brand campaigns, RFPs. And to me, it's, you know, we don't know these people. They don't know who we are. They're just looking at costs, basically. They're looking at answers. And I think there's more people who are in it. Like, we went to a pre-RFP meeting, and there was at least 30 people in there. So, you know, you can't just...
Is it a cattle call? Like
Yeah.
one after
Yeah.
another?
Yeah.
That's
Exactly
probably
what it
like
was.
you just leave.
Right, exactly.
Like, I'm sorry, this is
Right.
not right for us.
Right.
And just leave.
Yeah.
Right.
So, okay, I just want to clarify one thing. Because some of you guys know us as mostly a motion design firm.
Oh,
but-
sorry.
But we're pivoting pretty hard these days to becoming a brand strategy firm. So whenever we get an RFP, it's for work that you guys would be considered for. It's not motion based at all.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really brand strategy, doing digital work. We don't do annual reports, but that kind of stuff.
But you're not doing pitch decks for brand strategy, are you?
No, we don't.
So the pitch decks you're
for
talking
client
about
direct
were
work.
for the motion design.
It's for the agency world.
For the
And there's a
agency.
reason why we're leaving that world behind in some regards. Maybe because they're leaving us behind too. So it's okay. It's like a mutual breakup,
Sure.
a conscious uncoupling. That's fine.
It's healthy.
So it's healthy. So we're looking at where we can apply our design talent, and we have to also bridge the gap between where we are and where we want to be. And there are a lot of firms already established where we want to be. So we have to like chip away at their defense, if you will. So I'm a little surprised when you say an RFP and you run RFP, I dig in. Let's do it. That's just one point of difference there.
Well, you also have, and I have to say that the difference between Zach and Chris is that Chris has the resources to actually take time to write the RFP, where Zach and Rachel and Michael don't. So
Okay.
yeah.
Nobody knows this, but it's a template. It's a template. I try to templatize as much as possible, and these guys know it. I have a couple different decks. I have a master deck, and we just scramble. So if it's a digital initiative, like they want to see a lot of digital work, we just edit the other stuff out, put that in there, and we tell them who the team is. All that stuff is generic. Not generic, but it doesn't need to be tailored for every proposal.
Sure.
And then it's blocked out numbers, and there's only so many ways we move the numbers around. One thing that we do to defeat the whole competitive bid thing is we don't break down what our numbers look like. So if you ask me for a logo, it's just this price. This is how many revisions you get, and that's it. It's not broken into a very granular, like I have 4 people working on it and 2 desktops, and I don't do that anymore. So it's just a chunk. We're in or we're not. Okay? So we love that because if they say no, we know we're not in the ballpark. I don't have to waste any more time. I feel like when a client is justifying the project to you, that's the end. It's because they know the budget isn't there, the timeline isn't there. I've been doing this now for 21 years. It never works out. I've never, and I know you're not supposed to speak in absolutes, but it has rarely ever worked out where I went in, thought the best, just did everything that they wanted for nothing or the time was crazy, and they came back and said, we love you. It's because, and this is going to dovetail into one of the questions that was brought up here, I think Zach had asked this question about onboarding clients. How do you create a healthy long-term relationship? So here's where it starts, guys. Let me just say it the politically correct way first, and then let me say it the raw, unrefined way, which is this, is that the terms of engagement and the relationship and leverage and power is established within the first few minutes of your dialogue, period. If you're needy, if you're desperate, and this works in real life relationships too, people can smell it on you. You know, when you say, this is my rate, and you kind of like leave a little question mark, your tone of voice goes up. I know instinctively that's not really your rate. I already know that, and I'm gonna cut you down on it because I know it's not true. I can sense it.
That's how business works.
That's how business works. It's negotiations, right? It really is, right? So the terms of engagement are dictated by two parties. If you do one thing, I'm going to tell you guys to do this one thing. Don't want the work.
Right.
Try, this is Blair Enns' thing. He says, try to kill the engagement at least 3 times during the initial conversation. Really, if I don't want the work, then I'm not desperate. I don't need this. And so your whole idea of my portfolio, I don't need it. I'm good. Oh, future, no, I'm good. All that leverage they have against you is taken away. Unfortunately, I think creative types especially, who aren't prepared to deal with this cutthroat business world, are primed to like fall into this trap. I feel like this is that we're very much people pleasers and we're other validated. We want the approval. We want you to say you're great, you're amazing, you do beautiful work. I'm going to recommend you to all my friends. It makes us feel better. So they play on our own self-worth, and we hand it to them on a silver platter.
Right.
So that's a big thing. So if you want to be a person who is going to have a long-term, healthy relationship with a client, you have to have a little bit of that mastery mindset. You have to not want it and truly believe that. And I got to tell you this. In many examples in my life, the more I say no, the more they say yes. I had a client, a prospective client, come in, and the budget was super low, especially for what we're doing. Okay, I'm not going to betray any facts here, or people. Let's say they just came in and it's like, you know what? I have $5,000 to do this thing. I'm like, no, I'm 50. I just can't do it. He goes, okay. He goes quiet. He goes, you know what? I find another 5. It's 10 now. It's like, how does somebody double their budget like that?
That's a red flag right
Right?
there.
How do they do that?
If he's increasing, that's a red flag.
Right? So I get, you know what I said? No, let me refer you to somebody. And the more you just say that, the more they want you, and it's good. But you got to put yourself in a position where, you're not eating Wonder Bread for dinner, because then you have no leverage because you have to eat first.
Okay, so you're talking in absolutes. So you're saying, I price it at 50. Even though they say 10, I'm still going to say no until they can climb and make my price, right? That makes business sense. However, if you are to discount your price, you have to still pull some scope away. I mean, if you want the project and you want to work with them, it's okay to go for a lower price, but you have to trade off something. So, half the amount of time, or, you pull out some of the scope.
Yep.
But you always want to start higher.
You always want to start higher. But what I'm saying
you
is,
get chiseled back, and they'll think they're getting a deal, and you're getting what you want.
right. But what I'm saying is, you don't just say, okay, I'll just do it for 10. You know what I mean? You don't just
That
say
doesn't
yes.
That's a good negotiation
Right.
tactic. I'm fully supportive of what Rachel was saying, is at some point, it's a game. You play it. You want high, they want low, somewhere in there. And the way that you give it away in terms of reducing your price and not seem like you're just inflating your numbers is to say, okay, let's revisit this project. If I don't have to do 4 versions and I could do 2, if I can take this away and you can stay on point, right? If you can give me timely feedback, no lengthy revision cycles, I can do it. And here's what I usually do in this situation. I say, but here's the caveat. If this spirals out of control, we're going to have this conversation again. Are you cool with that? I'm cool with that. Great. So when it spirals out of control, and it will, you're say, you remember that conversation, and you have to raise it before you get to DEFCON 5. You have to say, look, we're approaching that point in which I'm going to have to charge you for money. So this next round, we have to wrap things up. If we don't wrap things up, when I reduce it from 50 to 30, it's going to go from 30 to 40. If we keep doing it, it'll be 40 to 50, and it'll just go on and on and on. Right?
Right.
There is such a thing as being too tough of a negotiator, winning the negotiation and just losing the job.
Right.
And I've seen that too.
It's a fine line.
It is a fine line, and it's a bit of an art. And you need practice at it. So the best way to practice it is the next person that calls you with the job you absolutely don't want and hate, that's the time to practice your skills. Act as if you don't want that job and you don't need that job. See what happens. And just genuinely try to help that person find somebody else and see what happens.
If you get that thing where they say, oh, it's going to be great for your portfolio, you say, my portfolio is looking pretty good.
I appreciate your concern, but no, thank you.
It already looks pretty good.
Right?
That's why you called me in the first place.
Yeah, so this whole idea of, now, if you, Look, guys and gals in this room, you know you're attracted to a woman or a man right at the beginning. You know who's going to wear the pants in that relationship right away. It's very interesting to me because I've seen guys be very dominant with their girlfriends, and then a totally different girl, they're like, oh, follow her around, hold her purse. I don't understand. It's the same dude, right? But she wasn't going to accept him unless he played by her rules. So if he gives in, that's what happens. It happens just like that in real life and in business.
Chemistry.
Chemistry and the terms of engagement are dictated
And
right at the beginning.
The good thing, though, about you guys that are starting out, doing this, though, making these mistakes are important because you're honing your instincts. And that's how you learn. So you don't get a few, you know. You just have to analyze what's been done, what's been said. Your psychology gets more experienced, and you learn from it, but you psychologically move forward. You don't dwell on it.
Now, just so we can hit it just a little bit more finely in terms of this idea about doing work you love and not getting paid for it, it seems to be the case. The better the project, the cooler the brand, the lower the budget. It almost seems like that. When we work on music videos, it's like the worst budgets ever. It's like, but I love this band. I love this band. Or the more they pay, it's like you're working for Marlboro, right? It's like, I don't understand that. There is this kind of relationship. It feels like that. It's because nobody wants to do that job. And they still need good work. So you kind of have to figure out what the balance is. So what's your opinion? Like, how do you guys, as a design firm, decide we'll take this project, we shouldn't take it? And do you have a philosophy or a rule or something about which ones to take, which ones not to?
Well, we try to range between 10 and 20% of our work goes towards either pro bono or projects that we feel like are an investment. So if we feel like this is a good project, then we will maybe take a cut on it just because we feel like we're going to get some creative control or the client might be good for our repertoire.
That sounds sincere and genuine they are, too.
Say that again?
Depends on how sincere
Oh,
and
I see.
genuine they are in the meeting.
Sure.
Do you guys have a hard number? Like, you know what your gross revenue is, so then 20% of that, you just, is that scientific? So when you hit your number, like, we can't do any more, that's it?
Yes.
It's
we've
pretty
cut-
normal. Yeah.
we've
Pretty
cut.
normal.
Yeah.
It's numbers.
I mean, right now we do 1 or 2 nonprofit clients, and that's pretty much hitting our, our range.
When you do work for a nonprofit client, does that mean they don't pay you anything, or they just pay you reduced rate?
It's a reduced rate.
Reduced.
Okay. Can you still make money on it, or no?
Yes,
Mm.
just a little bit.
I
But yeah,
feel
we
like
do.
they have two different companies, you
Okay,
guys.
so
Do they not have two different companies?
She has
I swear to
different
God,
standards than I
everything they're
do.
saying, like,
I've
yeah,
got
no,
higher
we do.
standards.
No, we do make money. We're not losing money on the project. I mean, the ones that we do lose money on are the ones that we really, really love, like the projects we love, not necessarily the clients.
But it depends on the project.
Yeah.
For Michael, it's all about the project. It's literally like, what is it that we're doing, and
If he likes the people. The project and the people, right?
no, he's
it's
more
re-
of the project.
No, people too.
Okay.
People
Yeah,
too.
you said, I heard you.
Yeah, no, people too.
Yeah, they have to have integrity. How tightly do you guys run your business? Do you?
Not very tight.
Tight?
Not very tight.
He's gonna say very tight. I don't really know it. He's
No.
like super tight.
I don't know what that means.
I would say really structured. We're not.
Do you
very
have a
structured.
strong grasp of your financials, your margins,
She does.
what you're supposed to do?
I don't have
Rachel?
a strong grasp of it.
We're in trouble.
You know what this is?
We're in trouble.
You know what this is like? It's like,
So
we're enjoying this drive.
So what I'm saying
Who's
is that
driving? Ah, nobody's
no.
driving.
So what I'm saying is that I know where we are typically about 10% within range, and every year it's about the same.
What's your gross profit margin?
Oh, the margins I don't know, but the revenues I do
Like
know.
this.
Do you guys have any questions so far about this thing before I introduce a new topic?
Jessica does.
You're looking
How-
at it.
Three of us. There's 3 of us.
You talking about in personnel, revenue? What are you asking, dude?
Personal.
Personnel?
Just a,
Yeah, because
Okay.
if it's a small shop, it's understandable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
no, we're not in
But
the.
if you've got like overhead of like 3 or 4 employees more,
No,
then
we're not in the millions. No,
Wait.
it's 3 of us.
If it's more employees than what? What are you saying?
well, then more than just
More
2.
employees, more
Yeah,
income
2 or 3.
'cause of the overhead.
Like if you got 8 people employed, you got 15 people.
So I was just wondering, because then like runway of a month, that's understandable.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Versus
No.
the size of blind.
No. Let's talk about that a little bit.